Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So I opened this morning with a joke, and no one laughed. And yet I will tell it again. So this young student decides that he wants to make some money over the summer vacation, and he goes and knocks on a wealthy neighbor's door, and he asks the man if there's anything he can do for cash. The guy said, well, as a matter of fact, I need the porch painted. And if you paint the entire porch, what I'm going to do is I'll pay you $100. And he said, all the paint, all the brushes, everything you could need is in the garage, and so just have at it. So 2 hours later, the student comes back to the man, and he said, well, I'm all done. I'm all done. It's all painted, but I just need to tell you one thing, that it's not actually a Porsche, it's a Ferrari. That might not sound good, but that was light years better than this morning. So I'm calling that good. And so, how many people here believe that we live in a friendly, supportive, abundant universe? How many people would believe that? And it got more applause than my joke. And so, how many people believe that we have the power to create and manifest what we desire and even more? How many people believe that? And you know, it's easy to believe that because when you look at scriptures of all kinds, that it really supports that. You know, Jesus said, with God, all things are possible. All things are possible to those who believe. You know, whatever you ask, you know, you will receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. 23rd Psalm says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And Jesus said in Matthew, it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. So we get a clear idea, and I could give you many, many more scriptures, but even from those, we get a clear idea that there is an abundance of good that is available to each and every one of us, and in all forms. You know, from peace of mind to greater financial success, to healing in our relationships, to greater wisdom or understanding or clarity. I mean, there is an abundance of good. God is not withholding anything from us. That there is an unlimited amount of good. That even if we wanted a Porsche or a Ferrari, that good is available and accessible to us. So today we are in week 4 of our 5-week series on a fabulous book by Jen Sincero. And I really like her because she is so creative, she's authentic, and she is unbelievably irreverent. And so I love her book so much, but I just don't want to say the title. And the only reason I don't want to say the title is not that I can't say those words, is that I just don't want to get more emails than necessary. So I decided going with the subtitles better, which is still fabulous, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. And it's really based on our spiritual principles to help us live. And we live good lives. We live decent lives. But the fact is, I don't think we're living the life that we're capable of living or possible of living or that we know that we can live. And that's what the book is about. And so the question is, if all this abundance is available, where is the flow of that good being blocked? What is limiting the amount of love? What is suppressing the success? What is frustrating the fulfillment if all of this good is available to us? And in one word, I would say the answer, without a doubt, that holds us back is you. It's me. We are the ones that block our good. We are the ones, it is our stuff, it is our limiting ideas and beliefs, it is those stories that we tell ourselves that really limit our level of happiness or peace or how much love or success or abundance that we experience in our lives. You know, the mind is a tremendous and incredible creative tool and gift that God has given us, but our minds can also believe a lot of untruths. You know, our minds are conditioned when we're young, and whether it's by our parents or culture or by some of our experiences, into thinking we deserve less and that we are not worthy, and that we really do doubt our own greatness. And many of these stories or beliefs that we have are untrue. They're unhealthy. They're harmful. They make our lives actually harder. They create more struggle and frustration, and they can even add pain and have life be a painful experience. Jenny Holzer said that we are the victim of the rules that we live by. And the rules we live by are the beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves. And we tell ourselves all kinds of stories that are limiting, not true, and unhealthy. One of them is life is unfair. Another one is nobody understands me. Another one could be is I'm lousy at relationships, never seem to make a good choice. Another one is I never have enough money, or I'm just not good with money. Another one is I'm clumsy. I'm always bumping into stuff and hurting myself. Can't trust people. Everybody's out for themselves. I always get taken advantage of. Or I have bad hair. These are just... And the thing about it is, these are stories, and they seem simple, they seem funny. But what happens is when they get repeated in our minds a lot, they become our reality. That these stories that we repeat over and over again, we live out of them, and we are often stuck in our own stories, not even realizing it. You know that cute little line that people say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it? That is more true and real than we realize. Is that our stories keep us stuck and limited, and it becomes our reality. Einstein said, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. See, while many of these things are an illusion, they're created by our own beliefs, our own ideas, our own stories, and they have a real impact on our experience, what we feel, what we create, and what we attract in our lives. And they actually develop certain patterns that repeat themselves. I remember when I started journaling maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I really wasn't into journaling, but when I started journaling, what I started noticing over time was certain patterns. That I would have a certain frustration, and maybe 3 weeks later, I'd have a similar frustration, even though the situation might have been different. A similar feeling of unworthiness, or similar feeling of lack, or conflict, or whatever was going on. I kept noticing that there were some patterns that kept repeating when I got frustrated or upset, or situations with money or whatever it was. How many people have ever noticed that sometimes that you might attract and even repeat and have the similar kind of relationships, similar arguments, or similar issues that keep coming up in various forms in your life? Anybody? Okay, about 7 of us. That's fantastic. And so, are we surprised really that we have these repetitive patterns, whether it's struggling with money or family or health or career fulfillment or what do I do with my life? Are we surprised these repeat themselves when we know of the law of attraction, when we know the law of cause and effect, when we know that our thinking creates a reality, when we know that studies show that 90% of the thoughts we think today we thought yesterday? Are we surprised that we are attracting and not only creating stories that aren't healthy, but recreating and repeating them again and again in our lives? That's not good news, but here's the good news. In the book of Romans, Paul said this, do not conform to the patterns of this world, that life's unfair, or life's bad, or whatever it is, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be liberated, be changed by the renewing of your mind. And to me, the best and only and the greatest way to renew the mind is to quiet the mind and to connect with the mind of God. I think anytime we're anchored in the source, problems are lighter, dreams come easier, our moments are fuller, our lives are richer when we are connected to the source. Immersing our mind in the mind of God is the most powerful thing we can do for our lives. Last week we talked about developing a grateful mind, a giving mind, and a forgiving mind. And today we're going to look at an aspect of how to stop doubting our greatness and live an awesome life by looking at how to change our stories and how to get over our stuff. And the fact is we all have stuff. We have some story or idea about how hard life is or what other people are or what we're not. We all have at some level a somebody done somebody wrong song about somebody in our lives. You know, that story might be that our parents were terrible, or I didn't get loved, or I was abandoned. You know, it could be a story that I never get a break. Lousy, horrible things always happen to me. It could be a story that I'm not smart enough, you know, that nobody will love me with these thighs, or that nose, or that I walk funny, or whatever it is. You know, or, you know, that I grew up in poverty, you know, or, you know, one of the stories we tell ourselves is that I just don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I'm stuck. My life won't get better. I have no choice. And this is not to diminish in any way the difficulties that we go through and the facts that those things happened, but there's a difference between the fact that something difficult happened and creating and perpetuating a story about it. Those are two very, very difficult things. Because when you see through the lens that life is unfair, that's all, when you look out at life, that's all you see. You notice unfair, unfair, unfair. Good things could happen, but we don't take it in because the lens is so focused on what isn't right, what isn't fair, and what isn't working. And whatever story we tell ourselves, those are the things that we experience and see the most of. And it limits the fullness of all we could see. William Blake, the great poet, said this: if we could only clean our perceptions, we would see life the way it is, which is infinite. But we can't see infinite when the story we're telling ourselves is that things will never work out for me, or it's my parents did it to me, or whatever else. And so I want to give an example that she gives, a story example that she gives in the book. And the story that this person, we'll call her Mary, told was, I can't find a good single man. There aren't any of them left. There aren't any of them out there. And the thing is, that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? You know, but we live out of those stories and believe they're real, and it becomes our reality. And so to counter that, here's what the reply to Mary is. Really, Mary? So they've hunted down every single good man, kidnapped them, hidden them, or killed them, so that no matter how many dates you go on, no matter how many times you dress up in your hottest outfit and high heels and stand in front of Home Depot, that you will never find a good man? And so the point is, yes, it sounds ridiculous, but to us, when we believe those limiting things, that it's because of my parents or life's unfair, or things will never work out, they're equally untrue as this, but we believe that they're true. And so that the way to begin to transform and release ourselves from them is to just be aware of the story that we're telling ourselves. So what is one story that you tell yourself that you absolutely know isn't true and limits your joy, your experience, and your happiness? Limits the way that you experience life. It could be relationship, could be financial, could be whatever it is, but what is that? And you don't need to worry about anything, but just being aware of it is the first step. And the second step is to notice the false benefits and rewards that we get from them. Because that story that either I'm a victim or the story that there are no good men out there actually has some benefits. Because the more we can't find one, the more we prove we're right that there aren't any out there. And the more that we can't find one, that we get people's sympathy. We get people's attention. You know, kind of a poor you, so sorry you're single, so sorry you can't find somebody. You know, there are certain rewards that come. Maybe the risk of not getting hurt, the risk of not being vulnerable, maybe the reward of not having to have the we need to talk. Maybe you don't have to share your closet. There's some rewards. They're not great rewards. And that's the thing about it is that we think they're rewards and there's some good we're getting out of it, but even the most good we can get out of it is limited compared to the life we're meant to live and want to live. And one of the rewards is we have a built-in excuse why my life isn't good, a built-in excuse why I'm depressed, a built-in excuse why I don't want to do this, that, or the other thing. And it also pulls us out of our personal responsibility for our lives. So these rewards aren't really real. They're kind of pretend benefits, and they're benefits that limit us by holding on to them. So just being aware of what story we're telling ourselves, noticing, yeah, there's some rewards to them, but being willing to thank them because they may have served us for a while, and to let them go and say goodbye. Because the reality is, for whatever that story is, you are more than that. Your life is more than that. That we are meant to be and experience so much more than that. We are creators and manifestors. That we can write our own story and a new story, but first you got to let go of the old story. So what story and what payoff is a time for you to acknowledge, thank, and say goodbye to? And say goodbye to them so we can write a new story. And we can all write a new story. Let's follow this line again. There aren't any good men out there could now become a new story of the world is filled with awesome, loving men, and I'm capable and worthy of attracting a fabulous relationship. Maybe the story that I'm broke and never have enough money could be I live in a world of abundance and I'm open and receptive to attract and enjoy financial wealth and success. We can rewrite any difficult, limiting story, no matter what we've been through, to write it into a positive, uplifting, transformative story. I want you to think of somebody you admire. And whoever that person is, I would be willing to bet one of the things you admire is that they took some story that wasn't that great and made it a great story. They rewrote whatever situation they were in and created something even better, greater, more wonderful. Maybe they were more loving, more kind, maybe they achieved something great. But I guarantee you, the people we admire most in life are the ones who have rewritten a story when they could have been stuck in some old story. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections, went bankrupt twice. His sweetheart died, his heart was broken. He could have lived the story that no one will ever elect me, that I'm not good at business, I can't run anything. But he decided to run for president. He ran only twice, and he won twice. Thomas Edison failed a number of times. He could have written a story of failure, but he didn't. He wrote a story of determination and success and discovery. Walt Disney was fired because he wasn't creative enough. He went bankrupt a number of times. He could have written a different story. Robert Downey Jr. struggled with drug addiction. He could have written a story, but unbelievably successful actor. Oprah Winfrey raped, had a lot of difficulty, wrote her success story. Lady Gaga, considered an outcast, she wrote a success story. Trevor Noah, if you don't know Trevor Noah, he wrote a book called Born a Crime, because he was born in South Africa. His mom was black, his dad was white. That was a crime. He could not hold his mother's hand walking down the street. They had to pretend they didn't know each other if police saw them, because they would get thrown in jail for that. Could you imagine the stress on a mother and a child for that? Rose up and took over The Daily Show. And so the fact is, every one of us could write a story of injustice. Every one of us could write a story of loss and rejection and abuse. We all have those stories. The question is, what's the new story we want to write? We can write an overcoming story. We can write an achievement story, a leadership story, a finding joy or a positive attitude, a story of determination. The thing I like about when you change your story and write a new story, it changes us. It changes our mindset. It changes our outlook. It raises our vibration and our energy, just changing and knowing that we can change that story. It empowers us, and it brings out the very, very gifts that are within us. So think of your life right now. Think of a situation that may not be going as well. And which story would you rewrite that to be? What would be your new story? What would be your overcoming story? What would be your love story, your success story? What would be your I got to start my life over again story? When we're serious about changing our lives and write a new story, it'll help us find a way. If we don't want to write a new story and aren't willing to do the work, we'll find an excuse. And so it depends what it is that we actually want. There's power in writing a new story. Here's what Jen Sincero says. Once you get clear on your story and you have done the energy work, take action. If you are once depressed and have decided to let it go and write a new story, stop listening to melancholy music. Stop talking about how lousy you feel, and stop pretending that putting on a robe is actually getting dressed. You know, one thing I've found is sometimes just stopping doing things that don't work make your life better automatically. You know, we need to stop doing things that aren't healthy, stop doing things that aren't effective, stop doing things that are harming ourselves. Just stopping them actually improve the quality of our lives. Will Rogers has a fabulous line, and it's like this. He says, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging. Do you know they have found in relationships, I've mentioned this several times, and it's so incredible. It's obvious and simple, but it's so powerful, that couples can improve their lives just by stopping complaining. Stopping complaining alone raises the energy of love and trust and care. Just stopping things that aren't good for us literally raises our energy, our vibration, our level of joy. Because why? Because it frees up that energy to actually do things that are more productive. So what is it, something in your life that you need to stop? That if you just stopped it, it would change your life, it would improve your life. And action is an important thing. Einstein said nothing happens till something moves. The first book after the four Gospels is, thank you. Nobody could answer that in the first service, but I'm not dissing them. It was early. And you know, one thing I really believe, one of the great killers of dreams is inaction. How many people have ever had an idea or some goal or something, got excited about some dream, and you didn't do anything or not much about it? Anybody? Okay, 6. Great. Here are 3 areas that kill our actions that we don't take action with. Procrastination. How many people have ever procrastinated? Another one is fear. Anybody ever let fear stop you? And how many people here are perfectionists or control freaks? Okay. Those stop us from taking action. They continue to help us doubt our greatness and not live the fullness of our lives. By the way, you know you're a control freak if you're at a friend's house and having a conversation and you know notice one of their paintings is slightly off. So you walk over, you adjust it, look at it, and you don't miss a beat in the conversation. That's when you know you might be a control freak. But I really do believe that not taking action in areas we know we should, that are important to us, limit our greatness and our joy. They block the level of success and happiness. And I believe that action in and of itself actually draws things to us and brings out our greatness. The late, great Glenn Fry of the Eagles once said this. He said, to write some great songs, you got to be willing to write some bad songs. Nobody sits down and writes a great song right off the bat. It is a process by taking the action. That when you write a song, you'll notice what you learned after you've heard it. You know, it'll bring you wisdom and insight, and you will get better and better at it because it'll draw out your magnificence. But you have to take the action. It is through the action that we learn and discover what works, what doesn't work, and what leads us to greater things. It shows us things that work, the things we ought to do more of. I believe any new action creates new life and new energy. And sometimes, yes, do actions towards your goal, but do some new actions that might seem silly, but that are important because they will make a difference. Like just wear something different. Go to a new grocery store. Learn a new language. Go to a movie at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. Change your toothpaste. Brush your teeth with the other hand. Walk taller. Smile more. Drive a different way to church. Any little different action will make a difference in your life. So recently I've been noticing that I sometimes forget things. Like sometimes there's some people, I'm usually good at names, and there's somebody's name the other day, and I thought it, and I kind of knew it, but I wasn't confident in my memory, which is unlike me, so I didn't say their name. I just said, hey, how you doing? And a couple times, I've been in conversation with someone and said, what were we talking about? Several times. Got me worried. So my new action is I am memorizing some Shakespeare once a week. And last week I did and Tomorrow from Macbeth. It was 10 lines. I did it successfully. This week is Double, Toil and Trouble, also from Macbeth. But I'm going to take action on improving my memory. Not whining about, oh man, I didn't remember her name or his name. Because we need to take action. It is the action that creates. Remember in Scripture it said faith without works is dead. You have to bring action into it. You remember when Jesus said in Matthew that I will build my church upon this rock, meaning Peter, because Peter was considered the guy of faith. But here's the thing about his faith, is that, remember when they were in the storm in the boat and Jesus called him out and he stepped out of the boat and at first he was on the water, but then he got scared and freaked out by the storm and he sunk into it. And it wasn't because he got it perfectly. It's because he was willing to step out of the boat of his comfort and try. See, action grows our faith. When you're stepping out, it will expand your faith. Nobody's got perfect faith right off the bat, but it is by doing, it is by trying that growth comes. So where in your life are you procrastinating? Where are you letting fear stop you from doing something that you want? And where are you being too controlling or a bit of perfectionist that, again, is hindering the kind of life you want to have? And what is an action that you know that your soul is calling you to take? You know, action seems like a totally physical thing, but, to will it, do it, force it, make it happen. But I love the words in the book of Zechariah where it says, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. We often want to muscle things and make them happen in life. But I say that one of the best ways to have our actions be smoother and more effective is to immerse your mind again in the mind of God. Because when you're centered in God, the things that are not of God fall away and things begin to flow into your life easier. That actions do come easier. They are smoother and they're more effective when they're grounded in Spirit. When they did movies, or when they do movies, they say 3 words to start filming the movie, and those words are lights, camera, action. And lights represent the illumination and light of God. The camera represents the new story or what it is we want to focus and create. And the action is the activity of doing it. Stop doing the things that aren't working and start doing and taking actions that will lead us to what we desire. There is an abundance of unlimited good for all of us, and the only thing that can stop us from experiencing it is us. And the stories we tell, the ideas and limiting beliefs that we have. And the way to attract that abundance is first to be aware of, I want you to be aware of one story this week you're telling yourself, you know that isn't true or healthy. Notice the rewards you get, thank it for the difference it's made in your life, let it go, and then write a new story. And then take whatever action that you are called to take. Because the key to stop doubting our greatness and start living an awesome life is to learn to change our story and get over our stuff. God bless you, everybody.